Thank you very much, Mandaluyong Children's Choir, and good morning to everyone. I am Mary Grace Ponce, and I shall be your host for this very momentous event. And as we all know, the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program was piloted in 2007 before it was fully implemented in 2008. That was 11 years ago, and since then, we have achieved a number of milestones. One such significant development is the passage, of course, of the Republic Act 11310, otherwise known as the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino Program Act, which happened this year. And this is the reason why we are all here right now, for the signing of the implementing rules and regulations. But before we go to the nitty-gritty of the law and the IRR, it is imperative for us to acknowledge the very important people who played a very significant role for us to reach the signing of the IRR and, of course, to pull this event. We will not be able to have this if not for our program partners that are with us along the way. We have of course, our NAC members, the National Advisory Council members. From the PAPCOM, we have Undersecretary Juan Antonio A. Perez. Welcome, sir. From TESDA, we have Executive Director Marisa Legaspi. From the Philippine Commission on Women, we have Maria Christine Josefina Balmes. From the Department of Trade and Industry, we have Undersecretary Blesilda Lantayona. From the Department of Agriculture, we have Undersecretary Ariel Kayanan. We also have, of course, with us the civil society organizations. We have RESITE Executive Director Ms. Esther Alconga. Welcome, ma'am. From the East-West Seed Foundation, we have Director Bing Van Turin. Welcome, ma'am. From the CCAGG, we have Mr. Belmore Pacapac, Project Manager of the Pantawid. We also have with us the other partners from the national government agencies from the Land Bank of the Philippines. We have Ms. Marilu Villafranca, First Vice President and Head of North. We have Mr. Domingo Conrado Galsim, Assistant Vice President from Land Bank. From the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, Ms. Pia Bernadette Roman Tayag. From the Philippine Veterans Bank, we have Mr. Jose Noel Cadiena. From the Philippine Statistics Authority, we have Ms. Bernadette Balamban. From the Development Bank of the Philippines, we have Mr. Raul Lazaro, Senior Vice President. From the Philippine Commission for the Urban Poor, Commissioner Randy H. Halasan. From the Philippine Institute for Development Study, we have Ms. Celia Reyes, President. We also have our colleagues from the Senate, from the Office of Senator Laila de Lima, Attorney Philip Sawali. Our, of course, development partners from the World Bank, from the United Nations Children's Fund, from the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, and of course, the Philippine Legislators Committee on Population and Development. We are also joined by our colleagues from the Department of Social Welfare and Development, headed, of course, by no less than our Secretary, Rolando Joselito Bautista. Sir, welcome. We also have, of course, the chairperson of the Technical Working Group of the Implementing Rules and Regulation, Undersecretary Danilo Pamonag. The Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino Program Director, Undersecretary Amy Torrefranca-Neri. Neri. 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 The Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino Program National Program Manager Director Gemma Gabuya. The Assistant Secretaries and the Undersecretaries of the Department as well. We are also joined today by the different regional directors of the Department of Social Welfare and Development. Welcome to all of you. And to formally welcome us all, may I present to you the chairperson of the Technical Working Group of the IRR. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for Undersecretary Danilo Pamonag.
Una sa lahat, gusto kong magbigay magandang umaga. At salamat sa inyong suporta at sa pagdalo dito. Alam kong ang nakararami o halos lahat sa atin ay minsang nangarap at patuloy pa rin na nangangarap na sa isang araw ang mahigit kumulang na 4 milyong Pantawid Pamilya Pilipino household ay lubusan ng umangat, lubusan ng umahon sa listahanan ng mahihirap. And so today is another big day, another celebration, and another victory to all of us. Congratulations sa inyong lahat na nandito. Today we are all witnesses of the signing of the implementing rules and regulations of Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino Program after it was enacted into law last April of this year. This is a result of collaboration and concerted effort from the different stakeholders who painstakingly went through the rigorous and tedious process. So I would like to greet the program implementors, the partner agencies, the people's organization, the private sectors, the local government, allies in the Congress, development partners, and more importantly, the program beneficiaries who work hard, lobbied for, and led several advocacy activities for the realization of this activity. We ensure the voices of all were all heard in the process of IRR crafting. Last, I would like to greet and acknowledge our esteemed guests who are all present in this activity, colleagues and partners, and who all came here to join and witness this very momentous activity. Salamat sa inyong lahat. Thank you for your overwhelming support and a pleasant morning to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Yusek Pamonag, for that very warm welcome. Indeed, this is a collaboration of the different government agencies, the different people's organizations, civil society organizations, our colleagues from the upper and lower house. We also acknowledge Representative Domingo Rivera, Vice Committee Chair, Committee on Poverty Alleviation. Welcome, sir. We are also joined, of course, by the samahan ng nagkakaisang pamilyang Pantawid. Kayo naman kayo para ma-acknowledge kayo. Yan. They're at the back. And of course, our media partners who are with us this morning, we are aired live via RTVM and DSWD Serves, by the way, via Facebook. As I've mentioned earlier, the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program has marked its 11th year this 2019, and there has been a lot of changes already, and we look forward to more changes as the IRR is set to be signed this morning. And so to provide us with I'm sure that all of you have some questions in mind already, like what are the changes of the program with the signing of the IRR and with the institutionalization of the program? What will be its impact to the program beneficiaries? We all have the same questions in mind. And so to provide us an answers with some of those questions, we have prepared a video for everyone to share with you the highlights and the changes in the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program implementation. May I kindly direct your attention to the short video clip that we have prepared for everyone.
Poverty remains a critical national issue. The children who inherit the plight of their parents are not equipped to change it. How do we pave the way? The Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program, piloted in 2007, is our intervention to help poor families break free from the cycle. It is integral to our social protection system and designed to be passed on from one administration to the next. In 2019, 4Ps was institutionalized, making it into law under Republic Act 11310. The Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino Program Act, 4Ps Act, becomes the National Poverty Reduction Strategy. We call it a Human Capital Investment Program. The government provides cash grants to poor households aiming to improve their health, nutrition, and education. Let's take a look at how it works. To make sure that the help goes only to those who need it most, 4Ps employs a standardized targeting system which automatically considers farmers, fisherfolk, the homeless, indigenous peoples, and those in geographically isolated and otherwise disadvantaged areas. To be eligible for the cash grants, those in the poor and near poor households must be 0 to 18 years old, pregnant at the time of registration, and willing to comply with the conditions. How much does each household receive? In each household, the children are covered by an education grant, with every monitored child in elementary school receiving 300 pesos a month, in junior high at 500 pesos a month, and in senior high from 500 pesos before institutionalization to 700 pesos a month. A health grant from 500 pesos before institutionalization to 750 pesos a month. Additional benefits are provided to the beneficiaries as mandated by other laws. Through the General Appropriations Act, a rice subsidy of 600 pesos a month, and through the unconditional cash transfer, a tax subsidy under the train law, which amounts to 300 pesos a month. All beneficiaries are now automatically covered by PhilHealth and given priority in availment of the modalities and interventions under the DSWD's Sustainable Livelihood Program or similar programs. The period over which the grants are provided is up to 7 years. During this period, the 4Ps Act employs a case management approach, with the city or municipal links working directly with the families to better their well-being. Only when a household is registered, active, and compliant to the program's conditions are its members entitled to the grants. What are these conditions? They concern the children from before they're born to their 18th year. Children 3 to 18 must be enrolled in school, maintaining a class attendance of at least 85% every month. children up to 5 years old must receive vaccination and health checkups regularly. Children up to 14 must be dewormed twice a year, and at least one responsible person from each household must attend family development sessions. A household that fails to comply with the conditions will be warned. Non-compliance following multiple warnings will result in termination of the grants and removal from the program. How do the household beneficiaries access the grants? To provide them with direct and secure access to the cash, the DSWD works with accredited government depository banks or contracts the services of rural banks, thrift banks, cooperative banks, and institutions engaged in money remittances duly accredited by Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. To make sure that the grants continue to positively impact the health, nutrition, and education of the beneficiaries, how should the 4Ps Act be implemented? The Philippine Institute for Development Studies evaluates every 3 years the veracity of the beneficiary list and tracks the effectiveness of the program. In addition, the implementation of 4Ps is kept in check by 3 major systems. The Beneficiary Update System validates, reports, and records the status of every member of the household beneficiaries. It monitors and adjusts the amounts of cash grants that each household is to receive. The Compliance Verification System checks the household beneficiaries' compliance with the program's conditions. And the Grievance Redress System records and resolves grievances effectively and efficiently. The National and Regional Advisory Councils recommend measures and policies and secure the necessary funding to ensure that the commitments of 4Ps are delivered responsibly. The NAC includes representatives from multiple national and regional agencies. Representatives from accredited non-government organizations involved with social welfare service programs are also included. And lastly, the 4Ps Oversight Committee sets the framework in reviewing the implementation of the Act, identifying inherent weaknesses in the law, and recommending remedial legislation or executive measures. While the DSWD is taking the lead, 4Ps is a national government program. Its success calls for a whole-of-government approach, with all of us responsible for every step. Whatever the intervention, the outcome we are working to achieve remains the same. The well-being of poor families improved, and the rights of the vulnerable promoted and protected. A brighter future for family, community, and country, from the social worker in the field to the decision makers in the national administration and to the household beneficiaries. We are in charge. Together, let us keep building this bridge.
Thank you very much to our sponsors who helped us come up with that very informative video. Would like to acknowledge the World Bank and of course the Foreign Affairs and Trade. A round of applause, please. Of course, we've seen the very salient provisions of the law already. We expect higher cash grants for our program beneficiaries. We expect to have a strengthened program assessment as well and an established exit strategy. And before we move on to the next part of the program, we would also like to acknowledge our colleagues from the Department of Education. We have Director Roger Masapol. Morning, sir. From the Department of Health, we have Ms. Luz Tagunicar. And from the Department of Science and Technology, we have Ms. Janet Puerto. Welcome, ma'am. And so moving on to the next part of the program, we are very much privileged to have, despite the very busy schedule of our secretary, he is with us today to deliver a message. Let us all welcome Secretary Rolando Joselito Bautista.
DSWD officials and personnel led by USEC Danny Pamonag, USEC Aimee, Neri Torrefranca, Director Gemma Cabuya, members of For Peace National Advisory Committee, partner agencies, development partners, allies in Congress, regional directors of the DSWD, other distinguished guests, members of media, gentlemen and ladies, magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. Before the start of the program, were able to hear the prayer song, which I believe a very powerful prayer song by the For Peace NCR Choir. It seems that I was able to hear voice of angels. While I was watching the updates on the SEA Games in different TV stations, and they were able to talk to some of the athletes who were able to garner medals from bronze up to gold. And they were asked different questions. And most of the common statement that I've heard from them is they are doing their best to achieve not only bronze but gold medals because they want to serve as an inspiration for the other youth, so that sooner or later, once they retired from being an athlete, then there will be future athletes who will take their place, and whatever motivation that they are doing right now, they're hoping that that will be transferred to the new athletes. So meaning to say, what they're doing right now is for the benefit of the future generation. For Peace has gone a long way, and I believe that all of us have done our part from the start of its inception up to this time, and we have now the IRR. And I think we have the same sentiments with the athlete, that we are doing this not for our benefit, but more importantly, for the benefits of the future generation. So I hope that we will be at pace and in step towards attaining the objectives of the For Peace. The Department of Social Welfare and Development, or DSWD, to Administrative Order Number 16, Series of 2008, introduced the Conditional Cash Transfer Program, or CCT, of Latin America to address the poverty issues plaguing the country by reshaping attitudes and molding behaviors to be able to reap the benefits of investing in education, health, and welfare of children coming from the poor, underserved, marginalized, and vulnerable sectors of our society. Hence, the Pantawid Pamilya Filipino Program, or For Peace, became our strategy for national poverty reduction through monthly conditional cash transfers for poor households centered on education, health, and nutrition, as remitted through our designated grantee per qualified household beneficiary as identified by the National Household Targeting System for Poverty Reduction, or NHTS-PR, or simply listahanan, which is validated every 3 years. Republic Act 11310, signed into law on April 17, 2019 by President Rodrigo Roa Duterte, institutionalizes the For Peace, our government's most important and successful program, which addresses the issue of intergenerational poverty. The implementing rules and regulations, or IRR, of RA 11310 should reflect the true intentions of our lawmakers who crafted the law. This will be an added function of the DSWD, with funding coming from its annual budget. The IRR of the For Peace Act was proclaimed in order to carry out the policies and objectives of the state in a structured and formalized system with the aim of promoting, disseminating, and facilitating the transfer of the basic parameters, procedures, tools, mechanisms, selection processes, efficient delivery of services, effective use of resources, management, funding, collaboration, monitoring, assessment, and reporting of the For Peace. This IRR is a collaborative effort of the DSWD, the Joint Congressional Oversight Committee, Department of Health, Department of Interior and Local Government, Department of Education, Department of Labor, Department of Agriculture, Department of Agrarian Reform, the National Anti-Poverty Commission, the Presidential Commission for Urban Poor, Department of Science and Technology, Department of Trade and Industry, Technical Education and Skills Development Authority, Philippine Statistics Authority, the Philippine Health Insurance Corporation, Philippine Institute for Development Studies, local government units, authorized government depository banks, government-owned and controlled corporations, government financial institutions, other participating government agencies, accredited non-governmental organizations, and various stakeholders. Through the collaborative and convergent efforts of government agencies, NGOs, and stakeholders, we shall be able to realize the benefits of operating in unison, which undoubtedly will achieve a greater impact in the delivery of basic services for the poor, while sustaining our combined outcomes for the upliftment of poor individuals, their families, and communities. This IRR, in the words of Senator Ralph Recto on May 26, 2019, in an article entitled, "Success of For Peace Law Lies in Well-Crafted IRR," includes farmers, fisher folks, and those without electricity, lifts the limit on the number of children qualified to receive cash grants, is assessed in terms of its impact by the Philippine Institute Development Studies, or PIDS, inclusive of verification of the list, and with the provision for adjustment in the amount of cash grants every 6 years based on inflation, has safeguards against local EPAL politics, and prioritizes livelihood programs, including training, employment facilitation, micro enterprise development, and technology for job seekers. It also provides for the automatic coverage of all household beneficiaries in the National Health Insurance Program. In an article published by the Department of Finance last November 28, 2019, entitled World Bank Financing for Peace to Accelerate Poverty Reduction, an additional $300 million financing for peace was given by the World Bank as part of the second phase of the DSWD reform program until year 2022. World Bank Country Director Mara Warwick said that the country's cash transfer program is the second most significant contributor to poverty reduction in the Philippines. By signing this into law, President Duterte has ensured its sustainability and enabled us to get closer to bringing down the incidence of poverty to 14% by 2022 from a previous high of 27.6% in 2015. The Manila Bulletin featured by Ben O. De Vera in October 2019 entitled Philippine Poverty Rate Seen Falling Below 20% Starting 2020 states that cash transfer schemes from the government will continue to help cushion the impact of negative shocks, while the boosting of human capital investments in education and health to include training and skills development will enhance the impact of economic growth on poverty reduction and achieve the goal of shared prosperity. The success of any law is anchored on its implementing rules and regulations, which must incorporate the true spirit of the law. The For Peace being the government's flagship program for poverty reduction necessitates an IRR that is pro-poor, inclusive, relevant, practical, judicious, culturally sensitive, respectful of gender, applicable to all faiths, responsive to the challenges that lie ahead, incorporates the best features, experiences, practices, and lessons learned from the ongoing 10-year-old For Peace program in order to assure its sustainability. From our tireless social workers in the field to representatives of local government units on to the regional and national level, all the way up to policymakers in government, President Duterte has said, we serve at the pleasure of the Filipino people. And it goes without saying that the uplifting of the socio-economic, health, and educational status of the poor, vulnerable, and disadvantaged is paramount in his agenda. For once, the answer to reducing poverty is within reach. And we thank all agencies of government, NGOs, stakeholders, and partners for helping us achieve the emancipation of our less fortunate brothers and sisters from the clutches of poverty. Yes, the Philippines can overcome poverty. Inshallah. Maraming salamat po sa tulong at malasakit ninyong lahat. Mabuhay ang Pantawid Pamilya Pilipino Program. Mabuhay po tayong lahat and magandang umagang muli sa ating lahat.
Thank you very much, Secretary Rolando Bautista. It was a very inspiring message indeed. And thank you for reminding us as well that it is our duty and responsibility to uplift the vulnerable from poverty. And so moving on, we would also like to acknowledge from the Department of Agrarian Reform, we have Ms. Maria Elena Cabanes. Welcome, ma'am. We also have Honorable Raymond Democrito Mendoza, Party List Representative of the Trade Union Congress of the Philippines. Welcome, sir. We've heard the message from the Secretary already, Secretary of the Department of Social Welfare and Development, and it is also but right to hear also our message from our colleagues from the Senate, who has been with us in our journey so that the law will be passed. We have here, and so to deliver the message of Senator Laila de Lima, we have Attorney Philip Sawali, Chief of Staff.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Let me share with you the prepared message of Honorable Laila de Lima, Senator of the Republic, Chairperson of the Senate Committee on Social Welfare, Social Justice, Welfare, and Rural Development. Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. Nakikiisa po ako sa inyong lahat sa mahalagang araw na ito, ang paglagda ng Implementing Rules and Regulations ng RA 11310 or 4Ps Act. Ito ay isa na namang tagumpay sa lahat ng tagataguyod ng pagsasabatas ng Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino Program or 4Ps. I am honored to principally sponsor this measure under the Senate Committee on Social Justice, Welfare, and Rural Development, which I humbly led in less than a year during the 17th Congress. After almost 5 years, the 17th Congress finally passed this measure in 2018. This would not be possible without the support of the Senate leadership and the 8 authors of the bill in the upper chamber, including my dear colleague, Senator Ralph Recto, as principal author of the bill. We also share today's feat with our counterparts in the House of Representatives, led by Congressman Democrito Mendoza. Let me also acknowledge the efforts of one of the inspirations and drivers of this effort to institutionalize the 4Ps, ang Samahan ng Nagkakaisang Pamilyang Pantawid or SNPP. Pwede po ba kayong tumayo? They closely work with us and who tirelessly and relentlessly advocated for this law. Masayang-masaya po akong kasama kayo sa labang ito. We congratulate the Department of Social Welfare and Development and all the member agencies of this working group, collaborators all in the successful crafting and signing of this IRR. Napakahalaga ng batas na ito. Tunay itong makakatulong sa mga mahihirap nating kababayan sa iba't ibang dako ng bansa na maitaas ang antas ng kanilang buhay na isang malaking hakbang sa paglunas ng kahirapan. Alam nating hindi madali ang patuloy na trabaho natin dito. Hindi rin biro ang laki ng budget ng pamahalaan at puhunan ng gobyerno sa programang ito. Mula 89 billion ngayong 2019, lumaki na ito sa 108.7 billion bilang pagtalima sa nasabing batas na inaasahang tutulong sa 4.4 milyong pamilya, kasama ang 8.7 milyong bata. Malaking hamon ang nakaatang sa DSWD, 10 ng iba pang mga ahensya sa epektibong pagpapatupad ng ating batas sa 4Ps at ang IRR na ating lalagdaan ngayong araw. Kaagapay niyo po ang inyong lingkod sa iisang layuning tumulong at pagbutihin pa ang kalidad ng buhay ng ating mahihirap na mga kababayan, anuman ang pagkakaiba ng ating politikal na pananaw. Kung inyo pong mamarapatin, iilarawan ko ang batas na ito na 4-piece version 3.0. Since its inception in 2008, it continued expansion in 2011. Now, its institutionalization comes with necessary reforms in the implementation of the program. We broadened the sectors covered by the program, designed a more responsive cash grant scheme, put in place a streamlined and clear system of interagency coordination, and promote transparency, accountability, and citizen participation in the program, among others. More than any regular infrastructure investment, I strongly believe in this program because we invest in our people, in their families' health, in the education of their children, and in development programs that will uplift them towards a better life that everyone deserves. I know that our work doesn't end today. Kapit-bisig po tayong magtulungan para tuloy-tuloy na maiahon ang ating mga kababayan sa kahirapan sa pamamagitan ng maayos na implementasyon ng ating batas. Mabuhay po kayong lahat. Good morning again, everyone.
Thank you very much, Attorney Sawali, for delivering the message of Senator Laila de Lima. We are very thankful that we have champions from the Senate, and we also have our champion from the House of Representatives. And so to deliver a message this morning, we have the former chairperson of the Poverty Alleviation and now a party list representative of the Trade Union Congress. Let's all welcome Representative Raymond Democrito Mendoza.
Good morning. May buntag. Magandang umaga. On behalf of Chair Deo Malapitan of Caloocan, my chairman, and of course, may I say, with much gratitude na nandito na tayo. Of course, Secretary Orlando Bautista, sir, the SNPP, our partners, hello there. Mga kulit yun, mga SNPP. That's why we have this law. The representatives of the other government agency, stakeholders, friends, and of course, we have Yusek Danilo Pamunag, Yusek Amy Nere, and with all much respect, the DSWD family. Yung suki ko sa komite. I am greatly honored to deliver this message because I was the chair, actually twice, in the 15th and in the 17th Congress that championed the 4-piece law together with many other advocacies. Somebody once said, nothing prompts creativity like poverty, a feeling of hopelessness, and of course, a little bit of panic. Poverty compelled many of the members of the House of Representatives to attempt to institutionalize the 4Ps. You know the journey of RA 11310 in the House, and we all know it began with President GMA. Actually, in 14th Congress, isang bill lang yun at the time. I was a neophyte congressman. I was a member. The number of proponents actually increased from 1 to 5. However, for 3 congresses, while the bigger house consistently deliberated on the policy proposal and transmitted the same to the Philippine Senate, unfortunately, the proposal died a natural death. You have my colleagues there. Kita niyo, they're all handsome and beautiful. After 9 years, and I thank them wholeheartedly, when I was chairing, the 17th Congress saw the most number of bills filed. 32 of them. Of course, you know, medyo star-studded yun ang komite ko. While I was chairing it, nandyan si former President GMA, and my vice chair Isa ding artista si Yul Servo, magaling din. And the one that always gets the applause when I will acknowledge the good congresswoman from Batangas, walang iba si Vilma Santos. Di ba? So, it was very interesting at saka madali. It was the same legislative mill that bills were filed, positions were heard, debates were actually heated. We realize this program benefits the poor households, but places the heavy burden in implementing agencies if not given sufficient support. And I'd like to say, when I started this, there was no clear position with the DSWD. That is a fact. And at one time, it was a no, then naging yes. For quite some time also, it was a big no. And finally, and I thank you, it was a yes. Because without the support of the DSWD, that agency, nothing will happen. And that is a fact. The new entity emerged in Congress. They call themselves the SNPP. May please acknowledge the SNPP. May you please stand up, the beautiful ladies, the parent leaders, the samahan na nagkakaisa, Pantawid Pamilya. These 4-piece parent leaders knock the doors of our offices, and they're always present in the committee and appeal to our sense of justice and compassion. Moreover, right, you cannot deny that they also submitted 680,000 letters to petition the enactment of the law. So, hindi lang sila kulit. They are actually very super kulit. And, kulit is good when you are lobbying. Just like the House bills, the number of this lobby group kept on growing exponentially. There were so many, and you can see here. When in the past, we could hardly get the thumbs up with the Appropriations Committee. It's important because it involves billions of pesos. And mahirap talaga sa Appropriations Committee. Para ka nasa electric chair eh. So, this time, we defended the 4-piece with flying colors. So, we were so happy na pumasa sa Commission on Appropriations. When I thought the SNPP would be contented to wait and see sila, they showed more hype to witness the second reading on the floor. And much to the contentment or the dismay of the leadership of the House, the Secretary General, may limit ang gallery. Awa ng Diyos, 700 parent leaders showed up. Akala nila, kulang pa yan. So 700 actually showed up to support and to show support to the fellow congressmen that this should pass. Fired up with the help of my former colleague, the Akbayan party list, Tom Villarin, my deep respect to him. He actually was also the one defended on the floor, the plenary, the author of House Bill 6536, and of the 4-piece program manager. Again, all praises, Mr. Secretary. He is a good man and a treasure in the department, Mr. Director Leo Reynoso. Wala siya dito. A good man, a good public servant. And of course, the COMSEC, since my time in the 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th Congress of Poverty Alleviation, and even now, walang iba, si COMSEC Odette, Odette Mendoza. Please stand up, ma'am. Kailangan naman, without Odette to backstop and etc., she knows it on her fingertips. What is amazing to our beneficiaries, we're always with us, celebrating the every forward step of the way, because for them, this must pass. Then I realized that here we go again, how Substitute Bill 7773 was transmitted to the Senate. Parang deja vu. Yet deep inside, I felt this is the time, and this is different. And you must also remember that medyo takot din ako because the Magna Carta of the Poor at that time, in which I chair, remember, COMSEC Odette was vetoed. And akala namin na, and hindi pang, the committee itself, hindi pa natapasan ng major bills. But after 17th Congress, we passed this bill, the 4-piece bill. Not only that, It's also the Magna Carta of the Poor, and of course, the CBMS law. It became a law and signed by the President. And with all due respect, may I say, all praises to Senator De Lima. Kanina, the representative from the Senate, palakpakan natin si Senator De Lima. Takot talaga ako. I was so afraid na hindi ito mapasa. And I have problems with getting a meeting with, of course, you know where Senator De Lima, diba? So she was my counterpart in the Senate. And we know where she is at the time, and she's still there. So, with the help of Senator Trillanes, was the one who actually defended the bill in the floor. And at that time also, palakpakan naman natin si Senator Trillanes. And at that time naman, that was also the time, kung ano ba ito, si Senator Dili naman nandoon. And then si Senator Trillanes was also threatened with imprisonment at the time. So it was really a very a battle. So that's exactly what we did. We pushed with energetic and happy beneficiaries in our midst. The journey of 4Ps law went beyond traditional policy making, which is a mere exercise of rationality and the use of network and connections. Our 4Ps beneficiaries taught us to demonstrate faith by thanking God for this law way before the President actually legislated or penned it or signed it. When things became concrete, Thanksgiving was again. Governance researchers would be interested to measure the cost of this law, which actually took 12 long years in the making. But they would be amazed to know in less than 6 months, the DSWD was able, and thank you, and we have it now, to promulgate this IRR. Ang bilis. It is normally not that fast. So thank you, DSWD. It is with great gratitude that we accept the 4Ps IRR, which you promulgated, and most particularly despite the limitations of the oversight power of Congress. The SWD and its partner agencies listened to the recommendations of the Committee of Poverty Alleviation as it contained in House Resolution 402. The committee prays that the DSWD and other implementing agencies will run the 4Ps with these considerations in mind. First, the program's main objective is to help reduce the number of poor households. Second, the most important implementing partner of government are the beneficiaries themselves. Third, we should take care of our 4Ps staff, especially in giving them tenure. I am from TUCP. Actually, the security of tenure bill was vetoed. And I'd like to pray also, and I appeal to the SWD, na itong mga natrabahante na working for the 4Ps should also, and I know they're contractuals or maybe agency hired, and hopefully hindi naman label only contracting, that they should also be regular workers in the SWD. That is my appeal to the good secretary, sir. But the saga continues. The real litmus test of our cerebral exercise and extensive discourse will be putting this into particular law into action. At the end of the day, we should make it into account to God and to the people as to whether all our efforts resulted in the improvement of the plight of the poor, and where all was just exercise of utility. In Congress, once again, it was very difficult. Ang dami din nag-criticize why you put so much money, and they were saying that you can put it in better use. But we prevailed. Once again, congratulations DSWD and the other stakeholders in crafting the IRR of the 4Ps Act. Again, magandang umaga, mabuhay tayong lahat.
Maraming salamat po, Representative Mendoza. And now we come to the most awaited part of the event, of course, the signing of the implementing rules and regulations. And so at this point, may we call on Secretary Rolando Joselito Bautista. We call on the representatives of the Department of Health, the Department of Education, the Department of Labor and Employment, the Department of Agriculture, the Department of Agrarian Reform, the Department of Science and Technology, and the Department of Trade and Industry, Technical Education and Skills Development Authority for the signing of the implementing rules and regulations. We request everyone, those concerned government agencies, to please come in the middle. Just to share with you, we also request the presence of Undersecretary Torrefranca, Torrefranca Neri, Undersecretary Pamonag, and Director Gabuya to witness the signing of the implementing rules and regulations. Just to share with you some of the highlights of the IRR. This is based, of course, on the different declaration of policies that the Congress shall give the highest priority to the enactment of measures that protect and enhance the right of the people to human dignity, reduce social, economic, and political inequalities, and remove cultural inequities by equitably diffusing wealth and political power for the common good. The promotion of social justice shall include the commitment to create economic opportunities based on freedom of initiative and self-reliance. And towards this end, the state shall establish a program that invests and harness our country's human capital and improvement of delivery of basic services to the poor, particularly education, health, and nutrition, which is an intervention anticipated to break the intergenerational cycle of poverty. May we also request Representative Mendoza and Attorney Sawali to witness the signing of the IRR. Also included in the provisions of the IRR is that the 4Ps becomes the National Poverty Reduction Strategy and a Human Capital Investment Program that provides conditional cash transfer to qualified household beneficiaries. It is also a human development program which provides social protection, social assistance, social development, and other complementary support services in partnership with concerned agencies, local government, and stakeholders towards improving the health, nutrition, and education and socio-economic aspects of their lives. Based as well on the law, there shall be an increased cash grants in which each child enrolled in daycare and elementary program shall receive 300 pesos per month. For those enrolled in junior high school shall receive 500 pesos. For children enrolled in the senior high school, they shall be receiving 700 pesos. And for the health and nutrition grant, 750 pesos on top of this. And as per mandated by the General Appropriations Act, they are also entitled to receive 600 pesos for the rice subsidy and 300 pesos under the unconditional cash transfer law. May we also call in the representative of the Samahan ng Nagkakaisang Pamilyang Pantawid to witness the signing of the IRR. In addition to this, all conditions provided under A, B, C, and F of Section 14, Rule 7 shall be complied with in order to receive the health and nutrition grant provided under Section 10, Rule 6, and in reference to Republic Act Number 11148 otherwise known as Kalusugan at Nutrisyon ng Magnanay Act. Section 15 also states that any or all of the conditions for entitlement may be suspended by the DSWD Secretary during the times of calamities, war and armed conflicts, or force majeure situations in accordance with relevant laws and DSWD guidelines. In such cases, full compliance to such conditions are deemed waived and payments to beneficiaries shall be granted in full. Under Rule 10 of the IRR, the Family Development Session will become a venue to promote the roles of the qualified household beneficiaries as community members in their respective communities by enhancing their level of participation and contribution in the communities, by enhancing their level of participation and contribution in community development. It shall be an avenue to transform households from passive attendees to decision makers, thereby allowing them to develop beneficiaries programs and other projects for their respective communities. Youth development sessions shall be encouraged among the young members of the households. Under Rule 12, the livelihood interventions, qualified household beneficiaries shall be given priority in the availment of the modalities and interventions under DSWD's Sustainable Livelihood Program or other appropriate or similar programs offered by other government agencies or accredited private institutions in accordance with their policies and guidelines. The qualified household beneficiaries shall also be given priority in the availment of the services provided by the Sustainable Livelihood Program or other employment programs of appropriate government agencies implementing the same in accordance with the policies and guidelines. As regard exit from 4Ps, as provided under Rule 3, Section 4, and Rule 5, Section 6 to 9 of the IRR, a qualified household beneficiary shall remain in the program. However, subject to the following instances and without prejudice to Section 16 of Rule 9 of Case Management and non-compliance with conditions, a qualified household beneficiary shall be deemed to exit from the program, whichever comes first when: first, the last monitored child in the household turns 19 years old, the last monitored child in the household finishes high school, the household reaches the 7-year duration in the program, the household is no longer poor based on the latest assessment through the adopted standardized targeting system, the household voluntarily waives its membership from the program, or the household commits offenses wherein the sanction is delisting, subject to the standards to be developed by the Department of Social Welfare and Development. As mandated in the law, the DSWD shall serve as the central planning, coordinating, implementing, and monitoring body of the program. It shall establish an arrangement of line of authority, communications, and the roles and responsibilities of the different divisions, including regional, provincial, city, or municipal structures, in the implementation of the program as the program's monitoring body. The DSWD shall ensure cultural appropriateness, gender responsiveness of its program management cycle, including planning, implementation, and evaluation. appropriate data and statistics on gender and vulnerable sectors, among others, shall be regularly collected, generated, and analyzed to inform assessment process. Under the law, an advisory council shall also be created at the national and regional levels to be headed by the DSWD. For this IRR, the advisory council shall refer to the national level and the advisory councils shall refer to both national and regional level. Thank you very much to Secretary Bautista and to all the new members of the National Advisory Council for the signing of the IRR. And of course, we will not end this event without hearing from the most important stakeholder of the program, the household beneficiaries. Let us listen to a response from a four-piece mother. For the new members of the National Advisory Council, we have the Department of Social Welfare and Development as the chair, the Department of Health and the Department of Education as vice chairs, the Department of Labor and Employment, the Department of Agriculture, Department of Agrarian Reform, Department of Science and Technology, Department of Trade and Industry, Technical Education and Skills Development Authority will now be members. Joining them as well are two accredited non-government organization members. DSWD shall submit a list of accredited NGOs to the National Advisory Council and the Regional Advisory Council and convene them. The interim NAC and RAC will facilitate the selection based on the prescribed criteria and process. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. We have just signed the implementing rules of the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program. Indeed, it is a very momentous and significant event. Thank you very much to our Secretary, Secretary Rolando Silito Bautista, and the members of the National Advisory Committee, the program beneficiaries, so there you have it once again, the signing of the implementing rules and regulations of the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program. And of course, we will not let this event pass without hearing from the program beneficiaries. Let us listen to a response from a four-piece mother. Her family was awarded as the first runner-up of the 2019 Huwarang Pantawid Pamilya of the DSWD National Capital Region. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mrs. Angela Tobelo. A round of applause, please.
Hello po. Magandang araw po sa ating lahat. Ah, sa ating Secretary Rolando Bautista at sa mga pamunuan ng DSWD at sa nandito po. Ako po si Angela Tobilio, may asawa at 4 na anak. Ang trabaho ng asawa ko ay isang security guard, pero hindi sapat. Dahil kahit minimum ang sahod niya, dahil sa maraming gastusin, lalo na sa pag-aaral ng mga bata, at kami po ay nangupahan. Nagpapasalamat kami ang programang Pantawid dahil po dito po malaki ang tulong sa amin mula edukasyon, kalusugan, nutrisyon, pati pa rin sa FDEs at ang kalusugan ng aming pamilya. Sa mga seminar at training, na malaking tulong sa amin ang kalaman na ito ang naging gabay sa aming pamilya, hindi lang, kundi sa kapwa naming benepisyaryo ng Pantawid. At ito rin ay nagamit namin sa komunidad sa kapwa namin. Nabuo po ang aming mula hindi pa sa batas ang Pantawid, ang samahan ay nabuo ang SNPP, Samahang Nagkakaisang Pamilyang Pantawid. Sorry po guys. At ngayon kasama po namin ang SNPP, nandito po ang SNPP. Sabi nga, kung magkakaisa, ito ay magbunga. Marami kaming pinagdaanan, pero hindi lahat lang sa amin at nakatuon ang samahan sa 4.4 milyong pamilyang natulungan ng programa. Masaya po kami na naging batas ang programang Pantawid o ang Republic Act 11310 at hindi ito naging imposible kung wala ang tulong ng mga kakampi or partners namin. Nagsulong nito, unang-una, ang mga congressman. Unang-una kay Kung Tom Villarin, Kung Raymond Mendoza, Kung Malapitan, Kung Kit Belmonte, at mga kung ng Batangas, kay Vilma Santos, kay Kung Yol Serbu, Kung Rapi Biason, at marami pang iba. At ang mga senador, unang-una siyempre kay Senador Laila de Lima na talagang masugid nagsubaybay sa aming paglalabi, kay Senator Trillanes, Senator Recto, at sa liderato ni Senador Tito Soto, at kay Senador Reza Hontiveros, Senador Bam Aquino, at Senador Mig Sobiri, at iba pa. Taos-pusong nagpapasalamat po kami at nagpapasalamat din po kami sa pag-aproba o perma ni Pangulong Rodrigo Rua Duterte at ang mga DSWD na siyang naging kaagapay ng samahan upang ipagpatuloy ang pagsulong lalo na sa ating dating director na si Reynoso. Kay Ma'am Tina Solyuso at siyempre ang kasalukuyang director ng ating programa si Ma'am Jima Gabuya. At ang mga nakabahagi naming mga benepisyaryo mula Luzon, Visayas at Mindanao, pati ang IRR para sa implementasyon ng programa kung saan nakonsulta namin ang mga recommendation ng mahigit 3,000 kalahok mula iba't ibang rehiyon sa tulong ng TAP, InsightGov at ANSA na aming naipresenta sa national at regional IRR consultation. Para sa ilang mga rekomendasyon ng kapwa kabinis na hindi na isama sa IRR, patuloy na makikipagtulungan ang SNPP sa DSWD upang ilambing na may sama sa operasyon manual sa pamamagitan ng pagiging bahagi ng SNPP. Aking napagtanto na bilang benepisyaryo, mahalaga na kasama kami sa pagpaunlad ng programa. Dito ay mas maintindihan namin na hindi lang pala kami basta benepisyaryo, napipindot lang o tatanggap. Subalit, kami ay napakinggan at nakakapakinig din sa kapwa naming benepisyaryo para maiayos at makatulong pa sa programa. Sa pagtatapos, sabi nga ng aming tagline, ngayong tuloy-tuloy na ang Pantawid, patuloy na mangarap at magsusumikap ang mga mahihirap. Maraming salamat po.
Maraming salamat din, Nanay Tubela. Kinakabahan daw po siya. Makakaasa po kayo na kasama nyo ang Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program sa pagtupad ng inyong hangarin na makaalpas sa kahirapan. We would also like, at this point, may we also acknowledge the presence of Attorney Maria Carina Trivilla of the Department of Labor and Employment. Welcome, ma'am. We also have the Director from the National Economic Development Authority, Director Mary Ann Daraway. All right, and at this point, we now move on to the next part of the program. We will have a photo opportunity and we will divide this into 4 groups. So we have first the first group, all the National Advisory Council members, past and present, together with DSWD Secretary Bautista, Undersecretary Pamonag, Undersecretary Neri, and Director Gemma Gabuya. This will be followed by the group from the IRR Technical Working Group, the PLCPD, followed by the DSWD Group and the NPMO, and lastly, we have our development partners, the Senate, the Congress. So we first call on the NAC members, please, in the stage. We call on DSWD, Department of Health, Department of Education, Department of Labor and Employment, Department of Agriculture, Department of Agrarian Reform, Department of Science and Technology, Department of Trade and Industry, Technical Education Skills Development Authority, Department of Agrarian Reform, Sir, dito ka na lang sa kabila. Dito ka sa kabila, sir. Para pantay. Yung iba po dito na lang sa kabila. Director Daraw, hindi nakikita. Ma'am. Director Daraw. Director Ann, dito ka sa gilid, ma'am, hindi ka nakikita sa likod. Si Director Daraw. Ayan. Okay, okay na po. Next group will be the IRR Technical Working Group, the PLCPD, DSWD Secretary Bautista, USEC Pamonag, USEC Neri, and Director Gabuya. All the members of the IRR Technical Working Group, the PLCPD, together with our Secretary, Undersecretaries, and Director Gabuya. All the members of the technical working group, please join. Thank you very much to the members of the technical working group. Next group, we have our development partners together with the PLCPD, representative from the Senate, from the Congress, together with Secretary Bautista, Undersecretary Pamonag, Yusek Neri, and Director Gabuya. We call on Representative Mendoza, we call on Attorney Sawali, our colleagues from the international development organizations. We have the DFAT, the UNICEF, the World Bank, and the ADB. Save the children. May we also call on Undersecretary Yambao to please join the photo opportunity. Together with the development partners, the PLCPD, the Senate, and the Congress. Thank you very much. And for the last group, the contingent of the Department of Social Welfare and Development, to include all the regional directors, the regional program coordinators, the National Program Management Office of the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino Program, together with Secretary Bautista, Undersecretary Pamonag, Yusek Neri, Director Gabuya, and Yusek Yambao. We call on all the DSWD contingents. We have the National Program Management Office of the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino Program, the regional directors, the service and bureau directors of the DSWD, and the NPMO family.
Boracay, nandun ako.
Bora, nandun ka, di ba? Siya yun, di ba? Dami nila. Siyempre, DSWT. Mamaya yung mga beneficiaries.
Lahat yan, mga sila.
Yung mga boses ang hindi, di ba? Appointees. Ano po CWC?
Ayun, community care, work.
Hindi board, yung parang celebration nila.
Anniversary.
Thank you very Thank you. Hello. And for the last group, we call on the different national government agencies. We have the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, the Development Bank of the Philippines, the Philippine Institute of Development Studies, Philippine Veterans Bank, the Land Bank of the Philippines, the Philippine Health Insurance Corporation, the Philippine Statistics Authority, Department of Finance, the Samahan ng Nagkakaisang Pamilyang Pantawid, meron. The Presidential Commission on the Urban Poor, Save the Children, Concerned Citizens of Abra for Good Governance, East-West Foundation Incorporated, Responsible Citizens and Empowered Communities, together with Secretary Bautista, Undersecretary Pamonag, Undersecretary Neri, and Director Gabuya, and Undersecretary Yambao. There you have it, the last group for the photo opportunity. Thank you very much to all our guests. Thank you very much, everyone, for the last group of the photo opportunity. And thank you, everyone, for joining us this morning. We thank all our partners, the different national government agencies, our partners in the local government, our colleagues in the Department of Social Welfare and Development, our development partners who help us pull this event through, and of course, the PLCPD. This has been Mary Grace Ponce, your host for this morning, and I will now turn over the mic to Director Irene B. Dumlao for the press conference. We have lunch available for everyone. Thank you everyone. Magandang umaga at maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat. We'll just have a break for 5 minutes before we will proceed with the press conference. Maraming salamat po.